Hey folks, it's Tom, your Frugal Prepper. It's kind of chilly and cold out here. I'm chilly and cold. I just spent about 2 hours working on a Dodge Avenger and in the driveway in the rain and the wintry mix. It was kind of nice yesterday. It kind of is cold in winter again today. This is what we go through in March and early April in Ohio. It's cold, wintry mix, warm weather. Oh, it feels like summer. Oh, it's cold. So that was definitely a misdiagnosis. It was not the crankshaft position sensor. And so I got a text from them that said the car is running really rough. It's acting like it's going to die. We had to drive it home and park it. I don't even think it's running good enough to get it to your house. I said, that's no problem. I will come to you. I threw all my extra stuff in the van, like my scan tool and laptop and picoscope and all that stuff. I threw it in the van, headed over to their house. And I get there and I scan the computer. And it has no crankshaft codes, no crankshaft position sensor codes, camshaft position sensor codes. But it has one for the oxygen sensor signal circuit is high. It has another one for accelerator pedal. No, the throttle position sensor 1 is high and the throttle position sensor circuit 2 is high. It has another one that says it's unable to adapt the fuel trims, whatever, to go into closed loop. Like that. That's weird. I didn't see any of these codes yesterday. These are all new codes. What's going on? But it's running fine at that particular moment. Like it's not misfiring or anything. So I'm looking up the wiring diagrams and stuff while it's sitting there running, just to try to figure out if those 3 circuits have anything in common, a common ground or something. And all of a sudden it starts misfiring real bad. I go into the misfire counters on the scan tool. Cylinder 2 is just dead misfire. I'm like, So I'm troubleshooting cylinder 2. I took all the plugs out. I did a compression test on each cylinder. They're all between 150 and 165, right? Good enough. I did the, Swaptronics, swap coil packs with another coil pack. Didn't help. And so I'm trying to check to see if there's any control on the wire. And it's really hard. So on a normal coil pack, you can go onto the, I don't know if it's the negative or the positive. I think you go onto the negative side and you see the test light just dim out, right? And you know that the coil's firing and it's getting control. Well, I'm seeing that, but I'm seeing it from the other spark plugs too. It's flickering a little bit because they all share a common positive. And I'm like, I don't know if this one's doing it. How do I test to see if it's getting control? So what I ended up using was this little guy from Harbor Freight. And this, you hook it up to your battery, and positive shows as red and negative shows as green. And it's really good at testing fast signals like that's on a coil pack, because you could use a test light with an LED too. But I use this little thing, and it starts flashing the green lead if it's getting control on that wire, because it's pulling that coil to ground, right? And there's no signal to cylinder 2. I'm like, what the heck's going on? So finally it dawns on me, I bet it's doing cylinder deactivation, and I bet it's disabling the coil packs. So I pull the connector off of cylinder 1, and I probe it, and it's flashing green for about maybe 20-30 seconds, and then it stops flashing. I plug it back in, and it continues to misfire. So I'm like, okay, it knows there's a cylinder deactivated, or it has to deactivate a cylinder, so it doesn't fire it. So I fire up, I clear all the codes, I fire it up with a test light hooked to ground, shoved in the end of the coil for cylinder 2, and sure enough, it doesn't fire. It doesn't have any control, even for 20 to 30 seconds. So I'm like, why doesn't it have control? And meanwhile, the accelerator pedal positions errors went from active to stored, or the throttle position sensor errors. I'm like, wow, that's weird, but the oxygen sensor error is still there. And so then all of a sudden cylinder 2 starts working. It starts firing just fine. and the oxygen sensor goes away. Then all of a sudden, cylinder 3 starts misfiring. I'm like, what the heck is going on? You know, this thing is acting crazy. Does it have a bad computer or something, right? So I'm just looking through the wiring diagrams, trying to figure out what any of those signals have in common. You know, what do these have in common? What is it? And the only thing I could find that they all had in common is they all went back to connector 2 to the computer. Anything on connector 1 wasn't giving me an error. Anything on connector 2 was intermittently working. And I thought, well, I did have connector 2 off when I was probing the crank signal and camshaft signals. Maybe I did something. So I'm inspecting the wiring or whatever, but it's still actively misfiring on cylinder 3, and I wiggle it, and all of a sudden the misfire goes away. I just wiggle the connector a little bit, and I wiggle it again, and cylinder 2 starts misfiring. I get the oxygen sensor code back. I wiggle it again, and it all starts running fine. I'm like, what are the chances that these connectors are just oxidized, and they've been causing these intermittent faults? But I probably made it worse when I pulled the connector off yesterday and plugged it back in. So I ran home. I didn't have my deoxit with me. I ran home. I got some deoxit. I sprayed it down. I plugged that connector back in a few times, and it's just smooth right on there. You don't have to like force it or anything. Sprayed that down, cleared all the code, started the car, ran it for a while. Came out, wiggled the connector, and it just seems to be running great now. So it had an oxidized connection going to the computer. So I told him if it still happens, we might need to replace that connector. It might be bad, and I'll have to get one from a junkyard, and I'll have to charge a labor to splice and heat shrink all the wires going into that computer. And or it may be a bad computer, in which case we'll have to find a computer and replace that. But I don't think it's a bad computer, but it could be bad solder joints inside that. Sometimes they get hot and just stressed out over age, and they do that. I've especially seen that on some Chrysler PT Cruisers, right? And so I just said, we're going to try leaving this deoxit on it, see if it clears up, and see if the problems go away. So I gave them a refund back for the parts and labor for yesterday, because that was a misdiagnosis on my part. And I'm like, if I had diagnosed it right and discovered the connector was loose, I would have just sprayed the deoxit on it, and I would have charged you the diagnostic fee. So I'm keeping the diagnostic fee because I re-diagnosed it. And here's that back. And they gave me like $45 back. And they were like, no, you worked out in the rain, worked hard, here you go. And so I took it. I said thanks. But, so that's where we're at with it. It looks like that connection to the computer was there. It was just so rainy, wintry mix. I was trying to work fast, and it was a mess. I just didn't set up the camera and record anything. I just wasn't in a good position to do that. So we'll see. And if it still has problems, we'll replace the connector. Because maybe it's so corroded. It didn't really look that corroded, but you can't see down inside. And I sprayed the contacts on the computer, and I sprayed the contacts in the connector, and then I just reseated that connector like 10 or 20 times to make sure it, exercised all those contacts good. And it really started sliding in there nice and smooth like a new one. And so now we'll see if it has that same problem. But sometimes you miss them, right? Sometimes you do. But what do you have to do? You have to stand behind your policy that if I confirm a diagnosis, the parts and labor are covered, right? And I re-diagnose again for free. You have to stand behind that, because what do you have now? You probably have a lifetime customer, right? You probably have a customer that's like, he is honest and he tells you what he finds, and he works really hard, and he comes out and works in the rain and tries to fix my car. Most mechanics don't do that. Most mechanics are just doing as little work as possible to make as much money as possible to buy some more cigarettes and some beer and go home. not most mechanics, but most like mobile mechanics that don't really have any specialized tools or equipment. They just know how to turn a wrench, right? And nothing against them. They're great for doing suspension and brakes and stuff like that. But when it comes to high level diagnostics, you kind of have to take a different approach. So anyway, that's what I found. This, I don't use this often, but once in a while when you want to see something like that, this is just a nice tool to have. I've only used it a few times, but it's nice to be able to see if you're getting control on a circuit that it pulses really fast, not long enough to light a test light. An LED test light works good for that too. This is also good to see if you're getting control. The cam crank VVT sensors, I've used it on that before, but it's something that is handy to have, but I don't use it often. You know, most things you can do with the test light. But that's all I got, folks. I'll talk to you all later. This is Tom, your Frugal Prepper.